In this video, I'll be discussing the responsibilities of a coach. Coaches all have responsibilities they need to follow in order to keep everyone safe and protect themselves and others. One responsibility of a coach is to follow legal obligations. This is especially important when working with children. It is vital that they stay vigilant. They need to make sure that young competitors and also disabled individuals are protected from abuse. Abuse can be physical, sexual, emotional neglect, and verbal abuse. They need to have a process in which they go through if they suspect a child is suffering from abuse, and the system needs to be made clear to all coaches. For example, if a gymnastics coach noticed a child had some unusual bruising, which was consistently there, then that could be a sign of suspected abuse, and the correct procedures need to be followed. Coaches also need to have all the correct qualifications to be able to coach, and when working with children, having a DBS check is mandatory. Essentially, the safeguarding of children is essential to protect them and the coach themselves. Another responsibility of the coach is to be professional in the way that they conduct themselves. For example, they should always arrive on time and not keep members waiting, especially if they are paying for their services. For example, if a horse riding instructor was turning up late to lessons, this would not be professional conduct, especially as lessons such as these can cost a fairly large amount of money. Safety checks and risk assessments need to be completed before sessions take place, and with this comes planning training sessions, so they know what they need to check to ensure it's all safe. By planning the sessions beforehand, they ensure that the sessions are of a high quality and being paid for its members. Its members feel that they are getting their money's worth. The coach needs to make sure that their behaviour is professional, as well as by using appropriate language and interaction, but also in the way they are dressed. For example, making sure jewellery is off and clothes are appropriate to complete demonstrations in. A further responsibility is ensuring there is appropriate health and safety procedures in place. For example, taking registers to ensure you are aware of who is at the session. Registers will be especially important when travelling to fixtures and going on trips to ensure nobody ends up in the wrong place. Safety checks and risk assessments also come under this, and ensuring that you are following the correct practices of the sport. For example, the correct ways to tackle safely in rugby. Also, having at least one first aider and first aid kit on hand will allow any injuries to be dealt with more effectively. By completing correct warm-ups and cool-downs, injuries will also be reduced. Finally, another responsibility of a coach is to give everybody equal opportunities. For example, if you are coaching a mixed group, you need to allow everybody the opportunity to do things such as demonstrating. For example, as netball is a female-dominant sport, if there are boys in the group, allow them to demonstrate as well and not just the girls. A coach must also not discriminate against anybody, for example, against things like race, ethnicity, gender, or age. Everybody should be treated the same when it comes to opportunities. If playing at a higher standard and if the players are being paid, the pay of males and females should be the same, especially if they are playing exactly the same role and sport. Avoiding stereotypes is also a good idea, such as nicknames like Sweetheart for girls and Buddy for boys. Finally, the last point is, give equal attention to all performers. For example, ensure that if you're giving one-to-ones, that they are given to every single player. Now we'll compare and contrast within these roles. When a coach is following their legal obligations, they need to make sure they follow all the correct procedures. For example, a swimming coach who notices a change in a child's behaviour and bruising, who follows all the correct procedures, this would be an appropriate way to deal with things. If there is any suspected abuse or risk to the child's safety, a coach must do everything in their power to safeguard that child. In contrast to that, for example, there was a hockey coach, she noticed bruising on a child and a child becoming much more aggressive, but did not investigate into it any further. This would not be correct. If there is a dramatic change in a child's behaviour, then it is likely that an event has caused it. Children are very impressionable. Especially if the behaviour is dangerous to others, there need to be interventions to protect the other children and the child themselves. The second responsibility, professional conduct, is very important. For example, a good example of this would be a cheer instructor who plans the sessions beforehand every week and ensures all safety checks are complete. This means the quality of the sessions will be good, as there will be no fussing about, and she will be able to get straight to the point. But also it means that everyone will be kept safe by ensuring she and everyone else is safe by planning for any hazards there may be. On the other hand, as an example of negative professional conduct, if a rock climbing instructor turns up late every week and is not in the correct clothing to demonstrate in, then this is not very professional. If people are paying you money, turning up on time is just seen as common courtesy, so to not be doing it is extremely non-professional. However, as well as not being in the correct attire for the activity, it means the actual sessions could be made worse, as you would not be able to actually show anybody how to do it in an effective way. The third responsibility of health and safety becomes much more important in sports that pose a greater risk. A good way of dealing with this, for example, would be an archery coach carrying out a risk assessment before every session, and who ensures that each participant is informed enough to be able to do the task. By carrying out risk assessments, it allows you to be prepared for any risks there may be, meaning you can prevent and solve them quickly and effectively. Making sure in a sport such as archery, where the equipment is potentially harmful, that everybody is at the correct ability and knows how to do the task so that harm to a participant is avoided is essential. However, a negative way of handling health and safety would be a primary school age athletics coach who is teaching javelin, who has little control over the class. Situations like this make the actual activity very dangerous. This is because the equipment being used, if used in the wrong way, is potentially life-threatening. In this situation, it is extra dangerous as it is children, who tend to have less awareness of dangers and maybe the space around them. For example, a child might get distracted and wander into someone else's throwing line. And for the final responsibility, a positive way of giving equal opportunities would be if a male coach of a mixed basketball class who allows both boys and girls of all abilities to give demonstrations. This is very positive, as male coaches can often be stereotyped as always favouring the boys and only the ones who are of a high standard. So by allowing everyone an equal shot, this will instill more confidence in the participants and hopefully encourage them to carry on with the sport. Finally, in contrast to this, a 16 to 18 dance class with a female dance teacher that has 5 girls and 2 boys who never allows the boys to demonstrate. Stereotypically, girls are seen to be the ones who dance and are better at it, so by not allowing the boys to demonstrate, this is already very discriminative. Also, at the age they are at, there is often a lot of social pressure. So the fact that the boys at ages 16 to 18 are wanting to go and do dance and not care about the possible comments shows that they want to be there and are probably of a good standard. Therefore, this means they should be given just as much chance as the girls, and no matter what their ability actually is. And that was my video on responsibilities of a coach.